mind now, if that's all right.
I'm scared.
Are you genuinely scared?
A little bit.
Am I intimidated?
I feel like we might be talking like psychoses, maybe?
Maybe.
Uh-oh. That's dangerous. It's dangerous.
So, you look at your calendar, you've got something like Slam Dunk on the agenda. Are you filled with excitement, or are there nerves present as well at the prospect?
You know, before we actually came out, I was exuberant, just so excited just to get out here and play and hang out with all these people that I haven't seen in years and years. We've kind of been out of the game, so it was that mentality that I had before coming out. But once we got out here, I was like, oh my God, this is so much work. There's just so much work. It's not as easy anymore as to just get up there and perform. Now there's long drives, and on this particular tour, the tour bus that we rented broke down, and there was no other buses available, no other Sprinter vans available, nothing with a driver available, so we had to drive. So every single night, you get off stage and you load out, and then you got to drive 4 hours to Glasgow, or drive 6 hours back to London, or drive, wherever it was that we were driving to. It just seemed like there was never a chance to actually sleep.
Exhausted then?
Exhausted.
Is that why you got glasses on?
Yeah, because my eyes are bloodshot.
How do you cope with tour life in general, like being on the road? Do you have feelings about what you're missing out on at home? Do you worry about what's going on at home? Or
FaceTime.
That's the solution.
FaceTime is so cool. I mean, I remember, I'm old now. I'm a statesman now, but in my younger years when we were touring, you didn't have that. You had a phone call, and the phone calls they weren't the same. You couldn't see your family. You couldn't see home. You couldn't see what it was like. You always worry that the people that you leave behind aren't coping as well as you would hope them to. But when you get to see their faces and you see how excited they are for you, or see how sad they are that you're not there, just to see that they miss me, it means a whole lot. And it makes me feel so much better about not being there.
And when, say, maybe your bandmates, you can tell they're struggling a little bit, are you the sort of band, do you communicate your feelings? Are you open with each other, or are you like blokes, like, we're fine?
Not at all. No. An example, our bass player was having some difficulty with home life today, and it really seemed like it was tearing him up, and he wouldn't talk about it. I tried. I was like, is everything all right? Cool? Cool? He's like, it's cool, man. Just gotta fucking get home. Just gotta get home.
So you do try, but it just doesn't work.
I try. But I suppose it's not something I don't remember ever talking about it to each other,
Well, even as a youngster with your bloke mates, you never would?
No. We don't necessarily know what's going on in each other's lives at every given moment. But when it looks like somebody might be having a difficult time with tour, we also don't pry. And maybe that's our own demise. Not getting to that point where we can share our feelings and be open and supportive. The support would help tremendously. I'm sure of it. Just to know that somebody has the same feelings that you might have, or might be going through the same situation. Just to hear it from someone else. That it's not just you. It's got to help.
You've got to make that happen then, haven't you? Maybe you should have like regular therapy meetings as a band, like every Thursday, let's talk about our feelings.
After seeing Some Kind of Monster with Metallica, where they actually brought a therapist in and talked about each other's feelings, and had a mediator where you gave someone time to talk, and then you expressed you expressed your concerns, or got a chance to validate others' concerns. It's just one of those things where we've never ever thought about doing that. And after I saw that movie, it made me think, if we would have only had someone like that just traveling with us all the time, we might be such better friends, or such better bandmates, or way more supportive of what we're doing outside of music.
It's hard when you've been a band for so many years to change the habits that you have. Just suddenly, right, we're going to change how we've been.
And I'm sure I'm not the only person who feels this way being in a band, but once you've become accustomed to being stuck in a van, or in a bus, or in an RV, or in some kind of confined quarters with the same person for an extended amount of time, you don't necessarily want to hang out with that person as much. And it's just the second that we get off tour, we kind of don't talk to each other for a while, or we don't see each other, and it's fine. And when we get back into the studio or get back on the road, it's like, how you been? How's things going? How's the family? But on the road, those questions don't pop up.
That's strange.
Strange.
Yeah. Interesting. I want to delve into that further with some other bands. That's quite interesting. Now, Anna was telling me that you had some health issues.
I did.
Like some quite big health issues.
Yeah. It's the best way to describe it, because it's to me it's still a little confusing. I woke up in the middle of the night one night and went to use the bathroom, was standing up peeing, and I had a syncopic episode, which is when you're asleep, your blood pressure is extremely low, just because that's the way your body is. And when you go urinate, some people have this mechanism that because blood flows as your heat changes, heat expelling creates this lack of blood flow going upwards. So I passed out and fell backwards and hit my head and on the tile floor and got a concussion. And the concussion led to a stroke because of constricted blood vessels back there. So I had a stroke, basically, because I fell and hit my head. And the stroke caused all these problems like difficulty walking, using my arm, speaking, just memory, all these different things. But the main thing was balance, just not being able to walk properly or do things as easily. Everything was harder. Everything was so much harder. And for such a long time, it was scary thinking that there might be a chance that I'd never recover fully. I'm fine now. Every now and then I'll get a little spout of like vertigo, but in the beginning it was like I couldn't stand up without falling over. I couldn't walk 3 steps without feeling like I was gonna.
Terrifying, really, isn't it?
Still, as of this moment, I can't run full sprint. It's almost like there's something in my body that shuts me off and says, "Oh, you can't go that fast anymore. Don't even try."
So when you're recovering in bed and not being able to do the things you're so used to doing, the like things that make you who you are, where does your mind go? Did you have like horrible feelings of hopelessness and worry and anxiety about the future? And
oh yeah. My number one worry was, well, what's going to happen with supporting the family? What's going to happen with being able to play an instrument? Because I couldn't use my hand at all. It was almost like it was there, but it was dead. And I didn't know if that was ever going to come back. And I remember doing this with the therapist, just one finger at a time, trying to figure out which one was which. Or doing this, tapping my foot from one circle to another that she put on the floor. It was like 4 solid months of therapy and just trying to learn how to use those reflexes and muscles that you never thought of before. You know?
Took for granted, just I can do that.
I can do that. So such simple things. I couldn't do this. It seems so silly now to say that I couldn't do that, but I can remember vividly the therapist took my arm and she put it out here and she held it up for me and she goes, "Okay, touch your nose," and I went, "Why is it not going to my nose? Why is that not going to my nose? Why?" It was freaky.
And what did you learn about yourself during that time? Did you learn that you're really resilient or that...
Resilient, yeah. Determined. I was determined to get better, and my body just wasn't cooperating with me, you know?
Frustrating.
And it's really frustrating. Taught some more patience. Maybe that's where all the... maybe that's what changed my mentality about wanting to ask those questions on this last tour. How you doing? What's going on at home? The patience is something that you really can't be taught that. You just have to learn it.
You learned the hard way, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you think you've become a more empathetic person, like to other people's situations as well, because of what you've been through?
Yeah, because you never know what somebody's day is like. You never know what things are like for that person at home. And without asking, without inquiry, you're never going to know.
Yeah, and what about your family? Do they point out the changes in you? Since, like, what have they noticed drastically?
My wife says that I fly off the handle extremely fast, and it's because of the frustration. And never towards anyone, just more like when I'm trying to do something. So the patience comes with people, but when I can't do something the way that I would want to, or the way it would have been as easy as it should have been, That's what's frustrating.
Now, when you fly off the handle, are you the sort of guy that can be like, guys, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, apart from throwing things together? Can you like own it and be like, yeah, I made a mistake there, I'm sorry guys? Or do you find it hard to apologize for things like that?
I do find it hard to apologize. Yeah. I think everybody in our band would say the same thing. We're all kind of hard, you know, we all have that trouble of empathy, I suppose.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm more empathetic now, but that's not saying very much, I guess.
Do you think you're good at recognizing when your bandmates are struggling with things? Obviously, your friend today, earlier with his home troubles, you noticed, but in general, do you think you're in tune with people and their emotions?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Some have an easier time hiding it. So with those people, it's still difficult. But I do find myself asking more questions about home life and attitudes and emotions and things that I would have never asked about before.
Do you think if you didn't have music, you would vent in other ways, or you'd be a bit more pent up with feelings because you're not unleashing them anywhere? Do you think having music really is a good vent for you?
I do. I think that any form of expression where emotion's involved and you get to show someone a different side of you or show someone what you might be feeling in a different form, not necessarily just speaking it, but musically or artistically, whatever that might be. I think that it's so helpful with a person's development, and I definitely think that that's helped me develop as a person.
Now, what do you do on the days where you're feeling a bit blue and you've got to do an interview with someone like me, or you've got to do a meet and greet? Like, how do you deal with that?
I feel that way.
You embrace it now?
Yeah, I do. I mean, there was a long time away, you know, with the band. There was a long time away, and I really do feel that the outpouring of love and respect and all these familiar faces and people coming up to you and saying, it's been so good to see you, man. I'm so glad to hear that you're doing better. It just warms my heart. It's awesome.
So it's a nice thing to be part of, really, isn't
Yeah.
it? What about, say, fans that write you letters and say, I've gone through this, or you've helped me through this? Do you kind of almost take that on a little bit? Because it's so emotional, some of the things people share with their musical,
I've
favorites.
been brought to tears.
Yeah.
I can remember sitting in the hospital bed and my wife bringing me my laptop for the first time. And she said, there's so many people online who are just showing support. You should see some of these messages. And I did, and it's amazing. It's amazing to hear the stories that I would have never gotten a chance to hear if that had not happened. I mean, there were stories from the 90s, from kids who now have families of their own and who talk about what our music did for them in small ways. But those small ways are significant enough for them to remember that memory. Sharing that memory with me just...
What a feeling.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Now, compare yourself now to when you were a child. When you're at school, perhaps, do you think that you were in touch with your emotions? Do you think you were a nervous child or a stressed child, or were you quite chill?
It's so long ago, I can't
When was
remember. I don't think I ever thought in those terms, whether I had a specific, if I fell under a certain category.
You don't remember being stressed about things as a teenager? Oh, see, I remember worrying about things all the time.
What kind of things?
Fitting in, whether I looked right, whether, everything was normal, whether I was normal.
Well, I suppose, at different times, adolescence, you definitely feel that way.
Yeah.
Inadequate. Inadequate, not as athletic, maybe not as beefed up and bulky, not as good looking. I do remember having those thoughts, man, I wish I could bench press the 180 pounds, or I wish I could run a mile in 4.5 minutes. I remember those things, feeling that, but then always wanting to achieve that particular goal. So I'd struggle with that feeling of, man, I got to stop thinking I wish I could do that, or I wish I could be that, because it's consuming me. And then I'd leave it. I don't need to run a 4.5 minute mile. Who cares?
You got over it.
Be in the Olympics. the
moved on.
thought would just fall behind, you know. I just wouldn't worry about it.
And what about coping mechanisms? Because I've spoken to a lot of bands, you know, and some say when they're struggling with stuff, they might drink more. Others say they connect themselves with interesting women, you know. Others, you know, go into themselves. Do you know what are you aware of what your coping mechanisms are?
It's definitely the alcohol. It's definitely the alcohol.
Yeah. That's a common theme, I find.
Yeah. I think it's always been because I've felt like you want to fit in so bad with your peers.
Yeah.
Your fans love you regardless, you know. They don't care that you're an alcoholic. They don't care that you're a drug addict. They like your music.
Yeah.
Whatever fuels that art, do it.
Yeah.
They're all about it. Your peers, they're a little more critical, you know? So they look at you in a way that makes you think, oh, I don't want to be a lush. I don't want to be a drug addict in their eyes. I don't want to be somebody who I've heard other people talk about in a bad way, you know?
Yeah.
So keeping that mindset always keeps you on an even keel. But the alcohol definitely does make me understand that that's also something that you kind of need to fit in, I guess. It's easier to be social.
It is. You get just like 50% more confident and less worried about saying the wrong thing, and
kind of less worried about feeling that way.
yes.
So when you're in the same room with those peers, you're less worried about feeling inadequate in their eyes because you might not care at that moment.
See, I even almost didn't come to this festival today because I was feeling so anxious about doing it, and I'm a non-drinker. I was like, I don't even know what to do to help myself in this situation. So I kind of wish I could have a drink.
And you can't?
Well, I'm not allowed to drink because I've got a stomach issue, but I was like, I need to find something that gives me that confidence that other people get from
This
that.
is it.
What, just chatting to people and just going for it.
This is it. You're not only chatting, we're recording our conversation. It's therapy. It's therapy for the both of us.
Okay. I need this because my thing is my coping mechanism is snacking. I snack on really unhealthy food in large portions.
I don't know if you can tell, but I like to snack.
What's the snack of choice right now?
Man, that's tough. When you're out here, it's candy, believe it or not.
Well, our sweets out here.
Yeah.
We do good sweets.
I don't buy them, but everybody else does. So they bring them in the van, and they bring them in the Sprinter, and they bring them in the buses, and it's impossible not to try these new candies, you know? It's impossible.
Do you like the sour fizzy sweets?
No, I'm more the chocolate-filled things.
Yeah.
And chocolate that's wrapped around things.
Around more chocolate.
Yeah, just put chocolate on top of something, I'm gonna eat it.
Yeah.
You can take, I was gonna say something gross, I'm not gonna say that.
I like gross, go for it.
So I might eat a fried chocolate turd one time.
I'd be game to try anything with chocolate. Yeah, let's go for it. Next
Let's
interview,
not eat
yeah?
a turd. Let's not eat a turd. That'd be bad.
That'd be a great way to end the interview though. This would go viral, wouldn't it?
We're not gonna eat a fried chocolate turd. Promise. We're not eating any fried chocolate turds.
Yet. When it comes to your music, how good are you at letting go of it when the record's done and not going back and going, oh, I still need to change that bit. I need
Horrible. Absolutely horrible. Every producer that I've ever worked with thinks the same way. I'm absolutely horrible at completing something.
Yeah.
Because I'm my worst critic, you know. As soon as we play something and it sounds like it could be a song, and we turn it into a song, all I want to do is make it better and better and better and better. But time doesn't always allow that, which is why we only have 3 albums and we've been a band for 20 years. It's like having one album once every 7 years, kind of. It's ridiculous.
They're not great stats, are they?
No, not at all. But it's I don't know. It's just the way I think. I can't put something together and put it out and go. Even today, I still feel like our songs aren't complete.
So you'd like to go back to them again and rework them?
Yeah. I don't like the old material. I don't like the new material because to me it's still old. It's just been released, but it's been laying around for the last 10 years. It's been over these 10 years that we've recorded this music at different, times and put it all together. I'd love to just go back into the studio and spend a year just writing something that was fresh and new and that was more representative of who we are today.
Like a snapshot of you.
Kinda, yeah. And I'm sure that every single one of those records do exactly that at that time, but I don't feel like that anymore. And because I don't feel that way anymore, you're always growing as a musician. Because I don't feel like that musician anymore, I don't feel like those things are representative of who I am today.
And then you've got to sing them as if they are,
as if,
which is weird, isn't it?
And the only thing that gets you through it is seeing everybody else sing along.
Yeah.
And then the entertainer part of your brain takes over, and the artistic side just says, I'll wait over here while you're doing your thing.
Yeah. Now let's talk about criticism and taking it on. Because these days people seem to be more critical than ever, and you can see the criticism more than ever. How are you good at accepting it or acknowledging it, or do you find it hard?
I love criticism. I love it because it forces me to change something, and I like the whole changing something. Getting someone's opinion on something, and then using that opinion to make a change that makes you feel better about it, almost like you achieved a goal that they set for you.
Yeah, I get that.
I like that part of it.
It's actually quite rare. I speak to a lot of musicians and ask that question, and most of them find it really hard to see the negative comments, and they go over them in their head over and over and
Negative
obsess over
comments
them.
is different. Some there's a lot of negativity that comes from not a criticism. It's more almost like just, I want to say shit talking.
Just trolling, isn't
Just
it?
trolling
Yeah.
for the sake of trolling.
Yeah.
Like, screw that band. I saw them live and they sucked. And that's not critical.
That's not constructive, is it, in any way?
The constructive criticism I can take all day, every day.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff doesn't bother me, but it also doesn't make me feel like I should care.
Yeah. That's a good attitude to have, I think. Take on the stuff that matters, but let the other stuff just wash off. Now, talking about social media and stuff these days, I think that has a lot to do with the awareness of anxiety and depression, but also the cause of it. So, if you were, say, president or prime minister, what would you do to change society as a whole to help this epidemic? What would you change? I know it's a big question, but is there anything you think would make a huge difference?
In regards to social media?
In regards to managing all mental health issues and the prevalence of them, and how many people have got them, what should we be doing as a society to help it?
I think we should integrate some form of therapy or some form of psychiatric assistance in schools.
I agree completely.
I think that it should start there.
I feel like every single person on this planet has something they need to work through or understand about themselves. Get off their chest.
I think I took 5 classes of psychology in college, and each and every time, I stepped it up from basic to a focus in bioinformatics and psychology, and the data is there saying that every single person on the planet has some kind of a psychosis.
Yeah.
And you can find it. All you got to do is search for it.
Yeah.
With no one searching, how are you going to know?
It's just going to bubble inside and then explode at some point.
Something happens.
Yeah. I agree. Let's sort that out. I don't know who can we call? Trump?
I don't think he's going to do. I think
not get
he's
onto that.
psychotic.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you explain it to him? Jeez.
It's not worth trying, is it?
No. And how do you explain it to Betsy DeVos? Jeez. That's even worse.
Let's not go down that road. We'll be here a long time.
No, but I do think about that. I do think that I don't know exactly what programs she's cutting funding for, but I know that issue is not something that's on her plate, and it won't be on her plate. It's not something that's on his plate, and it won't be. And it sucks that there aren't more people in the administration who are trying to voice that concern, because that's definitely a problem.
It's a worry if they're not.
Yeah, and if you don't see that, it's only because you don't understand it.
Camera died, so we're going to say bye here. Hope you enjoyed the interview. Thanks for watching. Bye.